All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings and Priests podcast. It's good to have you with us. And our sponsor this month is Better Together. Better Together is a nonprofit organization that helps parents who are going through a difficult time keep their children out of foster care, helps them find work, and address the root causes of their struggle so that they can reunite as a family with the tools and support system to thrive. So they're privately funded, volunteer driven, and they have a couple of programs. One is called the Better Families Program, where host families are able to care for children in their home while the parents of the children work with a mentor to get back on their feet. The other program that I actually really love and think is incredible is called the Better Jobs Program. So this was created to address the 76% of families who can trace their housing crisis to job loss. And so through local church partners, the program provides supportive job fairs and job coaching. So they partner with churches from all around the country. Those churches then get entrepreneurs and business people from their churches to say, hey, we'll donate and offer up an hour of our time a week to give job coaching, helping people make resumes who are coming out of a difficult time. So it's a really, really cool organization, and they're our sponsor this month. So Better Together, you can check out their website. We'll get those links to the show notes, get your church involved, and find out more about what they're doing. Dean.
Hey.
What's up?
Firstly, what a great sponsor. I love that.
Yeah, they're amazing. Based in Florida.
Cool. Well, where I happen to be right now.
Where you happen to be?
Sunny West Palm Beach, where
Nice.
it's actually not been sunny. It's been like almost a mini hurricane for 3 days. So it was good. Been indoors, been at a great conference, spent some time with John Maxwell and a bunch of church growth guys and, doing my thing, drumming up a bit of business. And,
There you go.
Yeah, it's been good.
West Palm Beach is a pretty place to do it, right?
You know what? I've never been here.
I never have either.
Yeah. But even in
Trump
the
has
mini hurricane,
invited me. Trump has invited me a few times to Mar-a-Lago, but I have just always been busy. I've always been busy when he invites me.
I can almost see Mar-a-Lago. It's like just over there. So anyhow.
Oh man. Well, okay. Today's going to be fun because I've got a quote from Peter Thiel that we're going to dissect. I think we're going to dissect some recent comments that our friend Jason Calcanis made.
Oh, okay.
That I think will be really fun. And then if we get to it, we're going to talk about advertising legends, David Ogilvy's rules for business. So first, let me pull up this Peter Thiel quote because I think it's really interesting. The idea here is that, and this is from the Founders podcast, which if you don't listen to, you absolutely need to.
Great podcast.
It is phenomenal. And he's done a few episodes on Peter Thiel. But here's a quote from Peter Thiel on distribution. He says this. He says, it's better to think of distribution as something essential to the design of your product. If you've invented something new, but you haven't invented an effective way to sell it, you have a bad business, no matter how good the product. Then he says, superior sales and distribution by itself can create a monopoly, even with no product differentiation. The converse is not true. No matter how strong your product, even if it easily fits into already established habits, and anybody who tries it likes it immediately, you must still support it with a strong distribution plan. So I think the basic argument this is bringing up is a good product good enough? And what is the most important product or sales and distribution of that product? So obviously Peter Thiel calls himself the contrarian with that opinion. What do you think about that?
Well, I can hear all the product guys' heads exploding, right? They're like, no, all you got to do is build the perfect product and it's going to sell itself. Mm-hmm. The sales guys here, I've known this for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
That
we've always been right. We've always been right.
We've always been right. And I agree with Peter Thiel on just about everything. I do think, obviously it's both, right? Like you've got to have a product that, finds product market fit, serves some kind of need, fixes some kind of problem, fills some kind of gap, does something better. It's a better mousetrap, whatever. So you've got to have the product, obviously. But really, if you don't have a way to get that thing out in front of eyeballs and getting people buying it, you're dead in the water. There's been a million great products that have never sold. And so, think back to like the infomercial days. When I was growing up, probably less so now, they're still around. But you get these guys on television, like, okay, in the modern, parlance is the MyPillow guy.
Yes. Yeah.
right? So it looked like, and I read some of his book. He developed this pillow, and he would go to trade shows and he would sell the pillow, or he'd go to these events. And then, like, he obviously is a good salesman. I've tried them. Like, I'm not anti my pillow. It just doesn't work for me. I need a lot more support than the little
Yeah.
chunks of
Yeah.
foam. My wife happens to love it, so we have
Okay.
a ton of them. But I need a foamy thing kind of in my neck. Anyway, that guy obviously built a product, and after he got some kind of product market fit, he just bought every time slot, like on Fox News for the last like 10 years. And I don't know what his revenue is, but that's kind of a classic, right? His distribution was him for 60 seconds, 6 times an hour on Fox News telling people, and that was his distribution. You dial the number and away you go. Like that's kind of easy to understand. Software is different. You build your product, and somehow, and usually you don't have the money to get Google ads in the early days, right? You gotta, in the early days, we created content that talked about the product. That when people started searching, church giving, mobile giving, we'd written, but by now, like, we have 350,000 people a month visit our blog because of 8 years of content. So that's a long game, but it's costs you nothing. You just got to write a blog every day, edit it. That gets
now you just got to use Chat GPT.
Now just use Chat GPT 4, and literally in 5 minutes, and I've done it a bunch. We're doing it for sermon prep soon. Shameless plugs coming out. It's going to blow people's minds. But it basically is going to, you'll be able to write a blog in 5 minutes. And it's not like, hey, Chat GPT, write a blog about, digital giving. It's like, hey, give me 5 points on this. Give me 3 examples on that. Show me some research on this. And then you just say, edit the above into 800 words. And bam. So it's about 5 minutes work. So
and there's this new quote that I've been seeing going around lately, that attention is the new oil. And in so many ways, that's true. I was just interviewing a guy named Justin Wise. He said, I've consulted with, he's a head digital marketing agency for a long time, helping small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And he said, it's the same every time I talk to anyone. I saw your content online. I'm on your email list. How do we work together? He said, that's it every single time. If you can figure that out. So yeah, distribution. Are there any products you can think of, though, that maybe started like I was just trying to think, is there any product that we can think of or that we can trace back and go, okay, maybe the product was just that good? Like a product that's really difficult to get, or, I mean, not a commodity or something that you have to have, but like, I was trying to think, like, is there something that's just that?
I mean, Apple is probably in my head. They just made they had a brand, they had a name, but the early products were tough. And remember that big all-in-one, colorful, I can't remember what it's called now, probably early thousands. The products were just awesome. And Johnny Ive and so the iPhone comes out, everybody knows Apple, and Jobs stands up, and the iPod is like, here's 1,000 songs in my pocket. It's like just genius stuff. But then you bought the product, you fell in love with the product, and you never left. Like, Apple people never become Android people. I don't know what the numbers are. I guarantee you it's less than
it doesn't you don't switch unless you have to. Yeah,
doesn't happen. Plus, the ecosystem just sucks you in forever, right?
Yeah,
they got a new lightning cord, every 5 years. It drives everyone insane, but it's just good.
Right.
I can think about services. Products are. Think about having a service. Like our favorite plumber that we always talk about. His distribution is word of mouth, happy customers telling other people. Right? He can put his phone number on his trucks. He can, go and kind of rustle up business. But really, if you're in services, it's all referral. And that's the cheapest and best way. It's the same for software too. Like, hey, I've been using this, you should use that. That's why you should always look after your customers, make sure they're happy, make sure they're going to tell 10 friends about the great experience you gave them, go over the top on service, and you create a distribution network of happy customers. Pretty easy to do and almost free.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, next up, and listen, before I pick on Jason Calacanis, I want to at least let everybody know part of his brand is he likes to troll a bit online.
Totally.
So you can't ever
Smash
tell.
Mouth, for sure.
Yeah, he's smash mouthy, and you also, he likes to cause controversy. He knows what he's doing on that front. So before we jump into this, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus because he is a provocateur. But so last week, this guy who I don't follow posts a new memo that went out to all of the employees at one of the largest law firms that reps big tech companies. And it was this new basically directive. And this guy posted, and it says this. It says the new non-negotiable expectations. And so they sent this around to the whole staff. And I want to read some of these to you. And then I want to show you what Jason Calacanis responded to this. And I think it opens up a cool combo for us. So some of them are this. It says, this law firm, you are now playing in the big leagues, which is a privilege, so act like it. We are in the business of client services. You are the concierge at Four Seasons. The client always comes first and is always right. If a client wants a mountain moved, we move it, no questions. As a junior, your clients are the associates and partners on the deal team. You are online 24/7, no exceptions, no excuses. Clients expect everything to be done perfectly and delivered yesterday. Someone is paying $850 an hour for your time. Think about that in everything you do. Take ownership of everything you do. And then he says this. Work from home is a luxury. Don't take advantage of this. Buy a full home setup, 2 monitors, docking station, keyboard, mouse, and a working phone, or come into the office. No poor connections, no excuses. See number 3 and number 5. No questions until you've tried to figure something out for yourself. Google unfamiliar concepts. I mean, this is just hilarious. Right. Can't figure out the answer, talk to your classmates. And then I don't know is never an acceptable answer. This is your career. Embrace that reality and always put your best foot forward. And so this guy tweets it and says, yes, this company finally said the quiet part out loud. Nothing matters but the firm and generating billables. Your family, your health, doesn't matter. Just bill 24/7, no excuses. So Calacanis responds, objectively, this is a roadmap to be insanely successful.
Right. Basically
saying, I like it. And then just goes back and forth with this guy. Yeah. And then a couple minutes later posts a question, what CEO misses his oldest son's wedding to close a deal? And then answer the most successful one, which then triggered everybody. So I guess what I want to talk about is this idea, and we've talked about it before, of the hard work, no excuses, grind 24/7 mentality and culture. And what's funny, because I read this stuff and I agree with part of it. I get it, right?
No, totally. I agree with 99.9% of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. And then obviously Calacanis makes it extra.
Yeah. He juices it
extra
up.
Personal by using hey, miss your kid's wedding. It's worth it. That means you're a good CEO, which we obviously know that's
a little too far.
A little too far. But let's talk about this. What do you think? I know the kind of boss and manager you are. And what makes you, I don't know, what does this make you think?
So I think the premise of this is absolutely correct if you're an entrepreneur or if you're going to work in a highly competitive industry where everyone is trying to beat you, your co-workers included. So it is a law firm, right? They got rows and rows, hundreds and hundreds of associates, come in every year. We've all seen the movies, right? Like, the John Gresham books and how hard it is, and being an associate and coming in. And, I've gotten to see up close and personal how, private equity firms function with these juniors coming in, and, they just ground to dust. I was talking with my wife the other day. She worked in a very kind of competitive environment, and they would have interns that would come in, and the interns would get the coffee, and maybe they'd get, they're just picking up stuff right through the summer. And we were with some friends, and the wife's like, that doesn't sound right. Like, you're just using them. And Pauline goes, exactly. It's a privilege for them to observe anything. Do I make them get my dry cleaning? Of course I do. Do I, it's like, but this is a privilege. This is not, these aren't handed out for free. This is a true meritocracy. And if you're going to win in a race, you have to be the best. So kind of, which is a little bit okay boomer, right? That's my generation. That's how we were raised.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Millennials, not too much, still pretty good. Now we're in this like Gen Z world where there's a sense of entitlement and you owe me and it's a privilege for this company to have me. That is crap.
I know.
Like,
it's wild.
It is like, so look, there's a way to be humane as a leader. There's a way to be, I don't think missing your son's wedding is a good trait. So let's just put that on the record.
Right.
And I think there's certainly something to work-life balance. I took a week off last week and still probably work 30 hours. Regular week 60 to 80. And but I have hundreds of people that could do just about everything for me, so I don't need to do 60 or 80, but I love it and I do it. And that's what I do. And I'm 58 and, I was sitting listening to John Maxwell yesterday all day. It's just phenomenal. And John's 75 and the guy is just like going as hard and full tilt as he ever has because he loves it. He's in his sweet spot. He's like a genius at leadership and communication. And so like, that's what it takes. And so if you're starting at the bottom and you are confronted with this kind of list, you better get it with the program because someone's right behind you. They're going to run you over and you're going to miss out. And that's how things get better. That's meritocracy's at work. It's just the best. There's been no other system other than, capitalism enshrined, wrapped with some common sense. It's good to care for people. You have to know when people are about to break because if you break them, they're dead and then you lose them. And you don't want that. You need some good time off. You need a good recharge. You need to get sleep. Like you need to find your rhythm. But there's no way around this kind of list if you don't want to be successful. That's what it takes. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? And I'm trying to think about my career and, places that I've worked, especially younger. And something I think has changed probably in the last 5 or 6 years. Because when I moved to LA in 2009 during the great financial crisis, nobody was working. Everyone at my age was like, dude, we were working crappy jobs. I was valeting cars at the Hollywood Bowl and working for free at a production
I remember,
and there's something has changed, and like, I remember, I had a very, very high intensity, high expectation job for 5-6 years that I absolutely loved. And what I thought was interesting is the CEO there, he was like a worker. I mean, he was like, but it was like, the job was also semi-seasonal, so there was like the summers, we worked in advertising chills out a lot during the summer. And so he would go really extreme and like, hey, we're going to take time off and we're going to like be chill. And I'm going to go on vacation and not respond to anything for 2 weeks and figure it out. But then it was like, okay, we're in go time.
Right.
And he was there from 7 to 8, 7 in the morning to 8 or 9 at night. And like, it's almost like there's this idea that balance or working hard is like a bad thing, or it's abuse, or it's, and I feel like I could just go on so many rants about this. But so keeping on the same topic, because you've said, you sort of used yourself as an example. How important do you think it is for you as the leader to show that level of focus and intensity? Because I think maybe sometimes that's where the gulf is sometimes, where there are some workplaces where it's like, man, I see the executives or the people that are, up high, they're not working hard. They're just, one thing I know is the people that I've worked for that demanded a lot of me always actually did more than I ever did or could anyway.
Totally.
And so how do you think how important is that for someone setting a culture at a place?
That's just the law of credibility, right? Like, I can't ask someone to do something that I'm not doing. And I can't expect things out of people that I don't expect out of myself. So if I expect people to work hard and be engaged and diligent about their job and go the extra mile, and I'm not doing that, they're not going to work for me for very long because they're going to lose respect. And they're basically going to say, this guy doesn't practice what he preaches, and I'm going to go find someone who does. So absolutely imperative if you're demanding of something of someone else to live up to those kind of standards. It's basic leadership 101. You don't ask people to do things that you're not prepared to do or have not done yourself on the way up,
Mm-hmm.
in your journey. And so, but again, that to me is so common sense, but sometimes that's not very common. But I think the way you do it, you can bring people. I've always tried to just bring people along with me. I'm not really the guy in the office, with the door closed and coming out barking orders like a couple times a day. We don't have offices, we're remote, but like that's just not how I've done it. I'm always trying to bring people on the train. Like, you want to hop on, let's go, right? And it's gonna be hard work, and we're gonna do all our things, but then we'll have fun, right? We'll take time off, we'll do life, and so I just like having people come with me, and I like them seeing my life. I like them to engage enough and look and be able to learn without me saying things, just by observing what I do and how I do it. So, you won't keep people long term if you're not being truthful and having something worth emulating in your own life for them to want to follow you.
Yeah, that's great. I think it transitions into just kind of this next mini topic before we close. David Ogilvy is legendary advertising man. His book Confessions of an Ad Man is like a must read. He was an absolute genius. There are a few different. I saw a tweet today. Some of his a few days ago. Some of his business principles. I want to run through some of these quickly. And just, kind of riff on them. The first one is, he said, we admire people who work hard. We dislike passengers who don't pull their weight on the boat. He says, we admire people with first-class brains because you cannot run a great advertising agency without brainy people. I think what he means there is just people who are willing to think and think deeply. He said, we admire people who avoid politics. Office politics, which I thought was really interesting. So let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. There is just, in any workplace, there is office politics. And I love, he just says, we admire people who avoid it. Like, we're just not going to play that game.
Right.
And you brought up a meritocracy just a few minutes ago. Maybe let's talk about that.
Yeah. Everyone despises that person who's trying to climb the ladder by pushing other people down. That's essentially what office politics is. It's promoting and big noting yourself over co-workers, either behind their backs or straight out in front of them, and talking about how good you are and how bad they are, right? Either subtly, behind their back, like just insinuating certain things about so-and-so colleague of yours didn't really put in the time, whatever. The opposite is 1,000 times better, and this is the opposite. Praising your colleagues, giving credit where credit is due, celebrating other people's wins, and basically being so self-confident in your own ability to do things. You are not a small person on the inside that needs to push other people down to elevate yourself. If you do that in the workplace, the people at the top will see that, and you will be promoted faster than you know what to do with. Because they know that, if you're the kind of person that loves to promote and see other people win, you are a winner. And you're not petty, and you're not small. You have a big enough spirit and vision to celebrate other people's victories. That's the way you move up the chain. And that's like the politic thing. No, everyone hates it. It's just so small. And you have managers that are trying to impress the C-suite or whatever, and they're pushing juniors down, and they're not. Junior comes with a great idea, and they're taking credit for themselves. Just apart from not being Christ-like, right? Like, remember, we're overlaying our faith in our everyday work. Man, that's the opposite of how Jesus.
Yeah, it's just lame.
It's just lame. It's just weak and lame. So and it doesn't work. It's not a long-term
It's so
strategy.
obvious, and it's so obvious, right?
So obvious.
It's so literally everything you just said are the remaining seven
good.
ones of these. He said
I
we
didn't read it.
despise
That's good.
people. He says we despise people who suck up to their bosses. They are generally the same people who bully their subordinates.
Correct.
He said, we admire great professionals, the craftsmen who do their jobs with superlative excellence. We notice that these people always respect the professional expertise of their colleagues in other departments.
There you go.
And he said, we admire people who hire subordinates who are good enough to succeed them. We pity people who are so insecure that they feel compelled to hire inferior specimens as their subordinates.
Yeah. I love the language.
Yeah, it's so old school.
Oh yeah,
it's so
70s.
old school.
He's 60s
Yeah.
and 70s, right? And
Yeah.
no, it's awesome. It's a throwback. Yeah, it's kissing up and kicking down is the term I use, and I've been around some of those people, and over my life, I remember a guy who would kiss up so good, you hardly knew he was doing it, and for many years it went unnoticed that he was kicking down and literally doing things to people under him that were atrocious, like abuse. Not physical or sexual, but it was mental abuse. And it eventually came out, and it's kind of shocking, when you see it. But he was a master manipulator at it. But most of them are much more obvious than that, and you see it pretty quick. And so, yeah, those people don't last long around me.
How do you sniff that stuff out and then correct it? And then I guess how important is it? And again, we're talking to people who, the person that this matters to is someone who leads a bigger organization. But I assume the culture that you start at the beginning is the culture that grows with you.
100%.
So how in the early days of Tithely, or sure, any organization you've ever led, in the early days, how focused have you been on protecting some of that culture?
I mean, before I was a leader, I was a follower, and I'm still a follower too. Just because I lead in some areas, that doesn't mean I lead in all areas. So, I think you come into, a work environment where you're there to contribute. You've got skills. You can learn and get better at those skills. But I'm here to make the product or service better, right? In the church world, same thing. I'm here to make it better. If I'm on a leadership team, I want to add value to whatever it is we're all focused on doing. So I think that's where everyone starts. You don't start at the top. You start out serving someone else's vision. And then, you grow along the way. I think that it's one of the hardest things is dissecting people's motives sometimes. And the bigger you get, the further removed you get, because there's management layers. And so that gets even more difficult. It's just hard. So you got to have really loyal people that you trust, that you've been in the trenches in the fire with, that will tell you the truth about certain things. And so that you can make good decisions. But deception is deception. I mean, like deception is like, I got deceived about something for a long time and I didn't discern what the truth was. Hopefully as you get older, you're quicker to it. But it's just, it's a thing. So you got to have trusted people around you that can tell you the truth. It's probably another good thing, because they're going to act a certain way in front of you because you're the boss, and then they're going to act and do certain things around other people. So I always have spies at every level. Like I have people in that probably have been in the organization a long time and may have not be a leader, because either they don't want to be, or they're really good at what they do and they're happy like doing what they do, right? They don't particularly want to manage people, but they're super loyal to the organization, whether it was in church or, in business. And I every now and again, I'll make a phone call. And I will literally jump like 3 levels of leadership down to have a conversation with someone that I trust if I've got some issue. And so like I got something rumbling and I don't know, I'll go to this person who has kind of no skin in the game. They're a worker. They love their job. They've been around for years. They will tell me the truth, unvarnished. And once or twice a year, I got to do that. And so it's a technique that I don't kind of know if people agree with it, but I had people I knew in church life, there were people that if I wanted to get a message out to the congregation, I knew they would, whatever I told them, they would tell everyone. If I didn't want something to be known, I wouldn't tell them.
Wouldn't tell them. Yeah.
But if I wanted something to go through the church grapevine,
Mm-hmm.
I would, grab 5 minutes to have a coffee, and I'd say, hey, we're thinking about doing this and this and this, and I'm like, keep it on the down low for now. Within like minutes, I got
You're getting
this thing.
emails. You're getting
Great.
emails
It's great.
hours later.
Look,
That's amazing.
It sounds a bit kind of sinister, but you got to. It goes both ways. You got to have loyal people.
Why is this a serpent? Why is this a serpent innocent as a dove? Right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, thank you, man, for rescuing that scripturally.
No, I love it. It's so true. It's so true. Especially, and not to derail us, but I think when you are leading something, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a leader, part of your job is a protector. And sometimes to be a protector, you gotta, within integrity and within conviction, you gotta protect the flock.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
So, anyways, Dean, as usual, this has been amazing. Thank you. Hey, if you're listening, do us a massive, massive solid and like the show, leave us a review, rate it, follow us on YouTube. We're just continuing to hear from people who love listening. So, we will see you next week. Thanks for being a part of Kings and Priests. We'll talk to you soon.